huge,
Yeah.
massive, all those things. Like, this is the rivalry in Canadian university football.
What's up, guys? I'm Savannah Hamilton, and this is the U. Welcome back. Football playoffs are just around the corner, and we got our trusty insider, Arash Madani, back on the show today to get us hyped up as he runs us through the final games of the regular season. We also have a superstar wide receiver in Daniel Wiebe of the Saskatchewan Huskies joining us today, who is one of the best receivers in all of U Sports, and not to mention already a 2025 CFL draft pick for the Rough Riders. But first, let's get to some highlights from this past week. In soccer, take a look at this goal Saturday by Thomas Rivers University Wolfpack forward Essie Lufo. This header is her 9th goal of the season, which ties her for scoring leader in Canada West. It also makes her the leading scorer in Wolfpack program history with 12 goals overall. And we have to talk about one of the wildest catches you will ever see. Carleton Ravens quarterback Elijah Barnes signals to wide receiver Nash McDonald. He's running backwards, jumps, makes the catch one-handed. A bright spot for the Ravens, who fell to McMaster in this game, 41-39, just missing a playoff spot. All right, Arash Madani joins us now. Arash, let's just dive straight into some football. You ready?
Let's do it, Seth.
All right, we got a lot to talk about, starting with the Laurier Golden Hawks. They may have served the Western Mustangs one of their biggest losses in program history, with the final score being 60-13. Oh no. And it was also on Western's turf as well. Arash, run me through what happened out there.
Well, first of all, Sev, 60, like 60,
6-0,
Sixty. I
exactly.
mean, that has to be an all-time defeat in Western's football program history. Like, you just don't see anything like that happen to the Western Mustangs, no matter what the era. And the wildest part of all, Sav, this was a 17-3 game at the half. It was just a two-touchdown game at the break. And then you blink, and suddenly it's 50-3 at the end of the third quarter. And like, this is kind of one of those unheard of games, but you go back and you watch the tape, and what becomes very evident is that Laurier knew they had to stop the run, and their defense did that. And when
Mhm.
you're able to do that to Western, that turns them into a team that they don't want to be. So Laurier slowed that down, then they scored offensively, and they were off to the races. That's not just a statement win. It's not just a win that makes the Golden Hawks undefeated and home field going through their stadium, but that's a real indicator of just how good Laurier is a year after reaching the Vanier Cup with a brand new quarterback.
Yeah, you mentioned it right there. They kind of got a bit of a secret, not so secret weapon these days. Cal Wither. We got to talk about him. He's a guy that shows up back in Kitchener-Waterloo, his hometown, after 3 years of playing in the NCAA, and now he's dominating for them. Can you tell me who is this guy and the plays that he has made this past weekend?
It's amazing, Sab, because he's down there with the Ohio Bobcats, the same program that produced Nathan Rourke and Curtis Rourke. And he just never really got a shot there. He was always kind of in the shadows at quarterback. And he hasn't played Canadian rules in forever, because he played football north that sets up games stateside, and then he went on to Division One football. So then he's just, trying to make a decision. Look, I'm not getting a chance at Ohio. What am I going to do next? And he exhausted a bunch of NCAA options. And then in late May, he committed to coming to Laurier. And Sav, when I say commit, he went all in, to the point where every single day he was in the office of Laurier's offensive coordinator, Todd Galloway, understanding the system, getting the terminology down, etc. And then he'd go out on the field, understanding the footwork and what it's going to take. And Laurier runs a no-huddle offense, so he had to get the cadences down, he had to get the vibe down, and also the signals down. And so this was a work in progress. They go into training camp, they split the reps three ways because nothing was really given to him. And it became very clear through camp, by the end of camp, that Cal Wither is the guy. Now, it took him a few weeks to get going. Opening day was a little rough. But by week 3, he really showed that he has it. His production's gone through the roof. He makes the throws, Sav, that very few people can make, and he's able to drop. You talk about a touchdown pass in that Western game. He found Keon Robinson for a 20-yard dig. That ball was thrown right into a mailbox.
Oh,
Cal
wow.
Wither can make the throws. Cal Wither has taken over this program, and Cal Wither, kind of unicorn from the sky, for the Laurier program, comes home, and these are the things that can happen.
Well, clearly he had to be one of the hardest, if not the hardest, working athlete out there. Plus, natural God-given talent. I think that makes for a trusted leader in that. So good for him. I can't wait to watch how this season plays out for the Golden Hawks there. But let's turn our attention now to another big game that happened more on the east side. This is actually the Quebec showdown that happened last Sunday, where Laval came out on top of Montreal, essentially locking Rouge et Or to host the RSEQ championship game. Pretty exciting stuff there. How did Laval pull out the win, Arash?
Sav, they pulled out the win by playing vintage Laval football. You think back to last year's Vanier Cup, and Laurier did not allow Laval to score an offensive touchdown. And what do you have in this game? A 16-6 final where Laval's only touchdown comes on a block punt returned for a score. And then on top of that, 4 interceptions forced by their defense. Xavier Thibodeau takes that block punt back to the house. And when you do that, that just gives you enough of a cushion to allow your defense to do what it does. Forcing 4 Carabam picks is just remarkable. But that's a quintessential Rouge et Or win, where, so often we talk about quarterbacks and offense and the rest. They play all 3 facets of the game. Special teams, defense, you win 2 of the 3, you have a good chance to win the football game. And maybe in the biggest football game of the season in the country, Laval's the one that knocks off Montreal.
Oh, that's so awesome. I mean, how big of a win is this before the playoffs?
Huge,
Yeah.
massive, all those things. Like, this is the rivalry in Canadian university football. And in Quebec, in that province, forget just the RSEQ, across the province, this is a massive rivalry. It's
Yep.
either Laval or Montreal that's getting out every single year. And it's huge because now the playoffs will have to go through Quebec City. Sav, you touched on it. More than 21,000 people showing up for a Laval football game. Talk about home field advantage being a thing. That is a massive win for Laval. It gives them a little bit of breathing room, especially with their quarterback, Arnaud Desjardins, a little bit shaken up. So this now gives them a big, big boost and home field going through the playoffs.
Speaking of big games, let's talk about another one. This one will be happening on Friday, though, between St. FX and St. Mary's, where the winner will take the top spot in the Atlantic Conference. What makes this game's stakes so high, Rash?
I mean, that's it, Sav. It's who's going to have the regular season title. Will the playoffs go through Halifax? Will they go through Antigonish? And it's a rematch of the 2 best teams in the AUS. And it was St. FX who won the first one a little over a month ago. It was in late September. They were down a couple of points with like a minute and a half to go in the game. And they knock off a 9-play, 75-yard touchdown drive to win it. Now, both teams are a little different, and, St. Mary's, they're led by their defense. They are the #1 team in the country in points allowed. They are able to shut the door pretty fast on teams, and they're going up against a real high potent St. FX offense where their quarterback is a fifth-year senior, their running back is able to bring it. X dictated things in the last matchup between the X-Men and the Huskies. St. Mary's was a little off. Let's see what happens this time around with Friday Night Lights.
Well, we know that running the football is definitely a priority for them, and they have a senior actually kind of taking the lead in Bussy, but you know something about a family connection there, am I wrong?
Yeah, well, this is a real neat one, Sav, to me. I mean, Malcolm Bussey just
Mm.
became the all-time leading rusher in St. FX history, and he
Amazing.
still has a year to go. So congratulations to Malcolm. But what makes this really cool is not just that Malcolm's a Nova Scotia kid who stayed at home to do this, especially after going to prep school in New Hampshire, where twice he was the Gatorade Player of the Year. But Malcolm Bussey wears number 27, just like his grandfather wore number 27 for St. FX. And his grandfather's in the Nova Scotia Sports Hall of Fame. And part of the reason that Malcolm went to school in Antigonish and committed to St. FX is because of the family lineage. And you think about what he's been able to do. First of all, he blew out his knee last year in an exhibition game. This is a comeback season. And now Malcolm's really finding his own, especially that's going to be important against a physical St. Mary's defense. But you talk about all the traits of a running back. What do you want? You want a combo of speed and power. You want somebody who's got some real toughness. You know that all the teams are gearing up to stop him, and they still can't with Malcolm Bussey carrying the mail. I mentioned that he's St. FX's all-time leading rusher. He broke the record held by the late, great Ashton Dixon. It's a really neat story of family, of staying in the province for school, and now dominating coming off an injury. He is going to be the player to watch on Friday night when X and St. Mary's get after it.
Wow. A comeback story as well as a family lineage story. This is a journalist dream, Arash.
And let the football game lives up to it, Sav.
Exactly. Hopefully. Thank you so much for joining us this week, Arash. This week, CBC Sports' Tara DeBoer got a chance to catch up with Saskatchewan Huskies wide receiver Daniel Wiebe.
Welcome, Daniel Wiebe, to the U. We're so excited to have you here.
Thank you very much. I'm excited to be here. Appreciate it.
So I'm actually going to start off by reading a number of your stats for you. You have the highest number of receiving yards in Canada West with 832 receiving yards on record, 53 receptions on record this season, the most in Canada West, and 4th overall in U Sports. And with 190 career receptions, you're just 8 receptions away from breaking the all-time record in Huskies program history. So, Daniel, what goes through your mind when you hear all that you've accomplished?
Yeah, it's good to hear the hard work starting to pay off, and it's exciting to hear those numbers. But, at the end of the day, the goal is to just be winning that Vanier Cup this year. And that's kind of been the whole focus this whole year, just kind of trying to stay present as much as I can. I kind of feel like the more you can stay present, the more you're able to give 100% effort. And I think that's really what's going to help the team the most at the end of the day. So it's nice to hear those numbers, but still the end goal, just keep winning throughout the season. That's for sure.
The Huskies are sitting 4th in the national rankings behind Laurier, Laval, and Western, 3 powerhouse teams. What's the locker room talk about that standing and how it motivates you guys?
Yeah, honestly, we've been really good at just staying focused on whatever week we're in. So right now the focus is on Manitoba this week as we're coming up on playing them. And I think that's really what we're trying to do throughout the season, just stay focused on what we can control. And then, once those games start to show up, then we'll start to focus on them. But for now, our focus is really just today. I think that's kind of what we're thinking of.
And so you're in your 5th season with the Huskies, but you did come into the season a little bit differently than the others, fresh off the 2025 CFL Combine and preseason games. How did getting a taste of the pros help you out coming into this season?
Yeah, it honestly helped me so much. Just learning the game at a new level. I found that helped a ton. Obviously, getting to play with pro players, it's a different mindset, another level of competition. So that helped a ton, just being exposed to that. And obviously being around those guys too, being with the Riders, they're pro players for a reason. Their work ethic kind of rubs off on you, and the knowledge they've gained over the years. It's been extremely helpful to get that. And yeah, just that level of competition is raised. So you got to raise your competition as well. So being able to bring that back, I think it's been super helpful.
And speaking of the CFL, there's a number of former U Sports receivers continuing to play bigger roles in the CFL. So Laurier alum Curly Kittens Jr., who plays for the Edmonton Elks, former U Guelph receiver Keandre Smith, who's on the Ticats now, to name a few. How does their success motivate you to succeed at the pro level?
Yeah, it means a lot. They're actively showing that it can be done, that you can play U Sports and go have a successful professional career. So they're kind of role models in that sense. And I'm excited to hopefully be another person in that step, go show the other guys that it can be done as well. Regardless of where you're playing, if you're playing to a high level, they'll find you and you'll be able to make a living off that. So it's super nice being able to see those guys do it. And obviously playing against some of those guys like the Philpots, seeing them in youth sports and then going and tearing it up in the CFL now, it's exciting to see.
November 22nd, the 2025 Vanier Cup. You brought it up pretty quickly in our chat. It's set to be hosted in Regina for the first time ever. How would it feel to close out your youth sports career fighting for the cup in your home province?
Yeah, I mean, it would be kind of like a dream come true, and you don't get that often. So it'd be amazing to have another chance at the Vanier. I know we had two early on in my career with the Huskies. Obviously, we didn't finish the job, but it'd be nice to go back and get it done finally, in the 5th year. So definitely have it marked on my calendar. Been thinking about it, ever since coming back. So it's definitely a big thing. Want to be there for sure and want to go win that.
You've got a Manitoba matchup coming up this weekend as your last regular season game. What's the mentality going into Saturday?
Yeah, we got to come out with a win. Every week it's 1-0 mentality. And I think that's the same thing this week. We got to go out, play our best football, and go into the playoffs with a win. I think that's really the goal. Obviously, we just want to keep winning for the rest of the year. So just keep that going.
That's a wrap for the U this week. Next week, we'll have the results from 2 cross-country league championships to tell you all about. In football, we'll be talking to Persevere's Deshaun Stevens. He's also a former U Sports football player himself, and by then, the regular season will be wrapping up and the playoffs will be underway in the OUA. And finally, we'll be previewing the upcoming championships in soccer, so stay tuned for all of that. I'm Savannah Hamilton. Be great.